The stars heard their cry and sent humanity's monsters. The planet Zerath shivered under the shadow of approaching destruction. Its skies, once clear and filled with soft blue light, now burned red from the glow of distant explosions. Cities that had stood for centuries were crumbling, their towering spires twisting into rubble. The air smelled of ash and ozone, a harsh warning that the enemy fleet would not stop until every corner of the planet lay in ruins. In the heart of the capital city, Kale, a young alien scientist, ran through the corridors of a massive research station. His 4 limbs moved in perfect coordination, carrying him past broken windows and the sound of distant alarms. The enemy ships were fast and relentless, striking with precision that no alien defense system could match. Kale's people had fought bravely, but they were simply outnumbered. Kale reached the communications chamber, a room filled with humming machines and screens glowing with data. Sweat ran down his face as he typed furiously, sending coded messages into deep space. He hoped beyond hope that someone, somewhere, would hear them. "This is Kale of Zerath," he whispered to himself, voice tight with fear. "If anyone receives this, please help us." Outside the chamber, the enemy fleet closed in. Their massive ships cast dark shadows over the city, dropping smaller attack drones that tore through the streets like predatory birds. Explosions shook the ground beneath Kale's feet. He paused, listening to the distant cries of his fellow aliens. Some were trapped, some were running for safety. Every second felt like an eternity. Kale's eyes darted to the signal transmitter, a tall tower of metal and circuits that could reach beyond the local system. He had spent months secretly modifying it, hoping to create a frequency strong enough to reach human systems far across the galaxy. The humans were legendary. Tales of their power and courage had reached Zerath through old galactic records. No one had ever seen them directly, but their reputation as fighters who could face any threat was known everywhere. He hesitated. Sending the signal could be dangerous. If the enemy intercepted it, they would know exactly where he was, but there was no choice. The planet could not survive much longer without help. Kale activated the transmitter, its lights flashing as it began to send a coded distress signal into the vast darkness of space. In the cold emptiness of the void, human ships detected the signal almost immediately. They had sensors far beyond any alien technology, able to pick up even faint whispers of energy across light years. Commander Rena, aboard the human vessel Iron Vengeance, studied the signal carefully. "It's coming from Zerath," she said, her voice calm but serious. Her crew, hardened veterans of countless galactic battles, watched the screens with sharp eyes. "The planet is under attack, and this signal, it's not just a call for help. There's something unusual about it." "What do you mean, Commander?" asked Lieutenant Harris, a young but skilled officer. Rena's gaze did not leave the screen. "It's coded in a way that shows fear, yes, but also desperation. They're hiding something, maybe technology, maybe experiments. Whatever it is, the enemy is trying to take it, and they are failing." Harris nodded. "Do we respond?" Rena's eyes narrowed. "We don't ignore cries like this, not if we can help. Prepare the squad, we move now." Back on Zerath, Kale's hope was faint but alive. He watched the enemy ships circling overhead, their massive cannons firing with deadly accuracy. One blast tore through a nearby building, sending smoke and debris into the sky. Kale ducked under a console for cover, heart racing. Suddenly, the ground shook beneath him. A massive enemy drone had landed nearby, scanning the area for survivors. Its glowing red eyes swept over the streets like searchlights. Kale held his breath, knowing that even one mistake could mean death. Then, in the sky, a streak of silver light appeared. Faster than anything he had ever seen, it moved with purpose. Within moments, human ships emerged from hyperspace, massive and terrifying in their presence. They did not approach like traditional fleets, with slow formations and cautious maneuvers. Instead, they plunged straight into the heart of the enemy formation, striking with precision that left Kale speechless. Explosions erupted across the enemy fleet. Ships that had seemed invincible moments before were torn apart, their pieces drifting into space. Kale felt a surge of hope. These humans were not like anything his people had imagined. They were efficient, terrifying, and heroic. Despite the relief, Kale remained cautious. The humans' presence was overwhelming, but he had no idea what they were capable of. Stories had painted them as monsters, terrifying warriors who could destroy entire civilizations. But watching them fight now, Kale noticed something else. restraint. They avoided harming civilians, focusing only on the enemy. Each strike was calculated, precise, almost like a dance of destruction with purpose. Kale's communicator buzzed. A voice spoke, clear and commanding. "Kale of Zerath, this is Commander Rena of the Human Defense Fleet," the voice said. "We received your signal. You are not alone." "Hold your position. We are coming for you." Kale's heart leapt. You are really coming?" he asked, disbelief in his voice. Rena's voice was steady. "We never ignore a call for help. Prepare yourself. We'll handle the rest." The enemy, however, was not about to give up easily. Their drones adjusted their attack patterns, focusing on Kale's sector. The ground trembled as blasts shook the streets. Kale sprinted toward a safer position, dodging falling debris and fire. He reached a high observation platform where he could see the humans in action. The humans deployed their elite squads, the ones known across the galaxy as the monsters of humanity. These warriors were massive, with armor and technology that made them almost unstoppable. Some had enhanced strength, able to lift debris and hurl it at enemy drones. Others had weapons that fired with unbelievable speed and accuracy. Yet all of them moved with a strange grace, like predators who knew exactly where to strike. Kale watched, fascinated and terrified. These humans were nothing like the enemy expected. Where the enemy showed fear in their attacks, humans showed confidence. Where the enemy panicked, humans remained calm. Every move seemed designed not only to destroy but to protect. One human warrior, larger than the others, smashed through an enemy drone with a single strike. Sparks flew as the machine crumpled, and Kale felt a shiver run down his spine. The humans were monsters, yes, but they were the kind of monsters who fought for life, not death. Kale's mind raced. He had spent years studying alien technology, trying to find ways to protect his people, but nothing he had imagined could prepare him for this. Humanity was different. They were not just strong, they were creative, unpredictable, and terrifying in their effectiveness. The enemy realized they were losing control. Smaller ships began retreating, while larger ones regrouped for a final strike. Kale knew time was running out. He activated the emergency shielding system in the station, hoping to hold off the enemy just long enough for humans to finish their assault. Explosions rocked the ground, shaking the platform beneath Kale's feet. He stumbled but held on, eyes fixed on the battle below. Humans moved like shadows among the flames, striking, disappearing, and striking again. Every move left Kale more amazed. Then, as the enemy fleet began to falter, a massive ship broke through the chaos. Its size dwarfed everything else. It was the enemy command vessel, a floating fortress designed to crush any resistance. Kale's heart sank. Humans might be powerful, but this was something else entirely. Rena's voice came again through the communicator. "Kale, stay calm. We've handled worse. Trust us." Kale nodded, though she could not see him. He did not feel calm, but he felt hope. Hope that these humans, monsters to many, heroes to some, would save his world. The command vessel fired its main cannon. A beam of energy shot toward the city, cutting through buildings and streets like a knife. Kale ducked instinctively. But before the beam could hit, a human warrior leaped into the path, absorbing the energy with a shielded exosuit. Sparks and fire exploded around the human, but they held firm, deflecting the blast away from the city. Kale gasped. The humans were not just fighters, they were protectors. Monsters in appearance, yes, but in spirit they were guardians. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with fire and smoke, Kale realized something. Humanity had answered their cry. The legends were true. The stories of human monsters were not exaggerations, they were real. And for the first time in hours, Kale allowed himself to hope. But he also knew the battle was not over. The enemy command ship still loomed, ready to strike again. And though humans were powerful, Kale understood that more danger lay ahead. He just hoped his people could survive until the full force of humanity could reach them. The night on Zerath was filled with fire, smoke, and the sounds of war. But amid the chaos, one truth shone clearly. The stars had heard their cry, and humanity's monsters were coming. Kale clenched his fists, determination replacing fear. If these humans could fight, then perhaps Zerath had a chance. Perhaps the planet could survive. And perhaps, just perhaps, a new legend was beginning, one that would tell the galaxy that when the helpless cried, humanity would answer, no matter the cost. The sky above Zerath was ablaze. Smoke rose in thick columns from burning buildings, and distant explosions lit the horizon like a storm of fire. Kale crouched on the high observation platform, heart pounding, eyes fixed on the battle unfolding below. He could hardly believe what he was seeing. The humans were unlike anything his people had ever imagined. They did not move like soldiers, not like disciplined armies trained to follow orders. No, they moved like predators, calculated, deadly, and precise. Each strike of their weapons, each maneuver of their ships was deliberate. They fought not for conquest, but to protect life. From above, Kale could see a squad of human warriors landing in the streets. Their armor gleamed even under the smoke and fire. Some were massive, their muscles and strength amplified by advanced suits, allowing them to lift fallen debris and throw it at enemy drones like they were toys. Others moved with speed that seemed unnatural, dodging blasts and retaliating before their opponents even realized what had happened. One human, larger than the rest, leaped onto an enemy drone, smashing it into the ground with a single blow. Sparks flew and Kale had to step back to avoid debris. He felt a mixture of fear and admiration. These humans were terrifying, yes, but they were terrifying in a way that made hope feel possible. Kale's communicator buzzed. Commander Rena's calm voice cut through the chaos. "Kale," she said, "we need your people to stay inside and follow instructions. Do not engage the enemy directly. We will handle the assault. Our priority is to protect civilians and your city infrastructure. Can you do that?" Kale swallowed hard. "Yes, I will guide them. But the enemy is everywhere. I don't know if we can survive long enough." "Trust us," Rena replied. "We've faced worse. Hold your position. We will create a safe zone for your people." Kale nodded. He took a deep breath and ran through the corridors of the research station, directing civilians toward shelters and emergency exits. The humans' presence gave him a strange confidence. He had always thought humans were stories told to frighten children, monsters, killers, but these were different. These humans were warriors, yes, but they were also guardians. In the streets, human squads fought side by side with Kale's people. The aliens were hesitant at first, unsure how to interact with these terrifying creatures. But the humans moved with precision, showing no hesitation. One human soldier lifted a massive slab of concrete that had fallen on a group of alien civilians and threw it aside, freeing them. Another human used a small device to hack into enemy drones, turning them against their own fleet. Kale watched, mesmerized. The humans were monsters in strength, monsters in skill, yet they were also full of care. They did not attack aimlessly. They did not cause unnecessary destruction. Every action was measured, every strike purposeful. The enemy fleet, realizing they were facing a force unlike any they had expected, began to adjust. Smaller drones swarmed the humans, trying to overwhelm them. But the humans were ready. They moved like a single organism, covering each other, responding to threats instantly. One human swung a heavy weapon, sending dozens of drones crashing into the ground. Another fired a beam that disabled a drone's control system mid-flight. Kale could feel the hope rising in his chest. Perhaps his people could survive this night. Perhaps Zerath was not doomed after all. As the battle raged, Kale noticed a group of human warriors approaching the enemy command ship, the massive fortress that had threatened to destroy the city. They moved with stealth, using smoke and debris as cover. Kale's heart skipped a beat. These humans were going after the command ship directly, putting themselves in grave danger. Rena's voice came again through the communicator. "Kale, we need your people to focus on evacuation and protection. The rest is up to us." Kale nodded, though she could not see him. He guided civilians to safe zones, giving them hope while humans handled the worst of the battle. From his vantage point, he watched as the humans unleashed their full power. Some of them were equipped with gravity-manipulating devices, allowing them to throw enemies and debris alike through the air. Others had advanced energy weapons, cutting through enemy armor as if it were paper. Kale could hardly keep up with the speed and efficiency of their attacks. One group of humans entered a collapsed building, using advanced scanners to detect survivors. They moved quickly, lifting rubble and carrying the trapped aliens to safety. Kale felt a surge of admiration. These were humans, yes, but they were also saviors, heroes in a form that his people had never encountered. The enemy fleet began to falter. Ships that had once dominated the skies were now disabled or destroyed. Drones fell from the sky, some turned against their own fleet by human hackers. The command ship fired repeatedly, but the humans' precision and strategy allowed them to avoid most of the damage. Kale realized that these humans were not just strong, they were smart. They adapted instantly to new threats, using creativity and strategy in ways his people had never considered. Where the aliens relied on technology alone, humans relied on a combination of strength, intellect, and unpredictability. Despite their power, Kale saw that humans also took risks. One human soldier jumped directly in front of a cannon blast to protect a group of aliens, using a shielded suit to absorb the impact. Kale's heart raced as sparks flew around the human, but the soldier stood tall, unharmed. "It's incredible," Kale whispered to himself. "They are monsters, but they fight for life." The battle continued into the night. Fires burned across the city, but humans moved through the chaos like ghosts of hope. They rescued civilians, disabled enemy weapons, and coordinated attacks that slowly pushed the enemy fleet back. Kale's people began to trust the humans. At first, they had been terrified, unsure if these monsters would harm them. But as the humans continued to fight with precision and care, the aliens saw the truth. These humans were not here to conquer. They were here to save. In a brief moment of calm, Kale and a small group of humans surveyed the battlefield. The city was battered, but it still stood. Humans had destroyed much of the enemy fleet, forcing the survivors to retreat. Kale could hardly believe it. His people had survived thanks to the humans. Rena approached Kale, her armor scorched and dented, but her posture steady. "You did well," she said. "Your people were brave, but bravery alone wouldn't have saved you. That's where we come in." Kale bowed his head slightly. "I cannot thank you enough. I thought my world was lost." Rena shook her head. "No world is truly lost if someone is willing to fight for it. Your people sent a cry into the stars. We answered. That is what humanity does." Kale felt a mixture of relief and awe. He had always known humans were strong, but seeing them in action had changed his understanding. They were more than strong. They were fearless, creative, and relentless. They were monsters to be feared, yes, but also monsters who carried hope wherever they went. The night passed and the fires began to die down. The enemy had retreated, at least for now. Kale's people emerged from shelters, cautiously stepping into the streets. They saw humans moving among them, helping rebuild, rescuing those still trapped and comforting those in despair. Kale approached Rena again. "The enemy, they will return, won't they?" he asked, voice tinged with fear. Rena nodded. "They will. But now you know something important. You are not alone, and neither are we." Kale felt a strange warmth in his chest. For the first time since the attack began, he allowed himself to hope. Humanity had answered their cry. Monsters from the stars had come to protect them. As the first light of dawn touched the battered city, Kale looked out at the horizon. The enemy command ship had retreated, but Kale knew this was only the beginning. The humans had shown their power, but more danger awaited. Still, Kale no longer felt despair. The humans had taught him something vital that night. Strength was not only about power or weapons. It was about courage, creativity, and the willingness to act when all hope seemed lost. Humans were monsters, yes, but they were also heroes in a way the galaxy had never seen. Kale turned to his people. "We survived the night," he said softly, "and we will survive the next. We are not alone. Humanity is here." In the sky above, human ships began to depart, their mission complete, for now. Kale watched them leave, feeling a mixture of awe and gratitude. The monsters of humanity had come to Zerath, and they had changed everything. But Kale also knew one thing: the galaxy was vast and threats were everywhere. The enemy would return, stronger and smarter, and when they did, humanity would have to answer the call again. Kale clenched his fists, determination shining in his eyes. "We will be ready," he whispered, "because now we know when the stars hear a cry, monsters come, and monsters fight for life." The city, scarred but standing, seemed to breathe again. Life would continue. The aliens of Zerath had survived the night, and the legend of humanity's monsters had begun. Word count: ~1, 900 the morning after the first battle. Zerath was quiet but tense. Smoke still curled from burning buildings, and the cries of injured civilians filled the streets. Kale moved carefully among his people, helping wherever he could. He had never seen his world so vulnerable, and yet he had never seen it so full of hope. The humans had remained through the night, working tirelessly. They were everywhere at once, yet somehow, no one saw the same human twice. One human soldier lifted a massive piece of debris to save trapped aliens. Another hacked into enemy drones that had landed in the city, turning them against each other. Every action was precise, calculated, and terrifying in its power. Kale felt a mix of fear and awe. These humans were monsters in every sense of the word, but their purpose was clear: protect life, destroy danger. He could hardly believe that beings so strong, so fearsome, were willing to fight for others rather than conquer. Rena approached Kale, her armor still showing the scars of battle. "Kale," she said, "we need to prepare for the next phase. The enemy we fought last night is only a fraction of their forces. Their command ship was just one part. There is a larger fleet hiding near the outer rim of this system. If we do not strike them now, they will return stronger." Kale nodded. "What do you need me to do?" "Guide your people. We need to form defensive positions and understand your technology. Your people know this planet better than we do. That knowledge, combined with our forces, can make the enemy think twice before attacking again." Kale quickly organized small teams of his fellow aliens. Some were tasked with evacuating civilians to safe zones. Others were assigned to gather supplies and weapons. Kale knew his people had little experience in war, but he trusted them. With humans by their side, he believed even the most terrified alien could fight. Meanwhile, humans began deploying their elite squads in preparation for the enemy's return. These were not ordinary soldiers. They were the ones the galaxy whispered about in fear. Human monsters, trained and enhanced beyond normal limits. Some had strength that could crush metal. Others had speed that allowed them to dodge energy blasts. And all of them had strategies that made even the enemy commanders uneasy. Kale watched as one of these humans lifted a chunk of fallen building and hurled it at a group of enemy drones. Sparks and metal flew, and Kale realized that humans were not only strong, they were unpredictable. Their creativity in battle was as dangerous as their weapons. Rena spoke, her voice calm but commanding. "Kale, we will strike at the heart of their operations, but first your people need to understand how we work. Observe our methods and follow our instructions carefully." Kale led a small group of alien soldiers to watch. Humans moved in coordinated patterns that seemed chaotic at first glance, but every movement had a purpose. One human soldier leapt across the battlefield, avoiding enemy fire, and landed behind the drones. Within seconds, the drones were disabled or destroyed. Another human used a device that created a temporary gravity field, lifting several enemy drones into the air before slamming them to the ground. Kale gasped. These are monsters," he whispered. "But they fight for us." Rena smiled slightly. "Monsters, yes. But monsters who fight for life. Remember that. You will need to fight beside us soon." As the day progressed, Kale noticed that the humans were teaching the aliens, not just protecting them. They showed how to use terrain to their advantage, how to set traps for drones, and how to defend key areas of the city. Kale's people were quick learners, inspired by the humans' confidence and skill. For the first time, the aliens felt like they had a chance, not only to survive, but to fight back. The enemy, sensing the humans' presence, began to regroup. Ships emerged from hidden locations near the system's outer rim, and scouts moved closer to the planet. Kale's people grew anxious. They had seen what the humans could do, but even with their help, the enemy was massive. Rena addressed Kale and his team. "The enemy command ship was just the beginning. Their main fleet is larger and more dangerous. We need to hit them hard and fast before they organize. That is where you come in, Kale. We will need your knowledge of this planet's terrain to plan our strike." Kale nodded. He led the humans through winding canyons, dense forests, and hidden underground tunnels. They mapped escape routes, supply points, and key defensive positions. Every detail mattered. Humans took notes, adjusted plans, and trained with alien soldiers to ensure that when the time came, their attacks would be coordinated and devastating. At night, the humans held a briefing. Kale listened as Rena and her officers outlined their strategy. "We will divide into squads. Each squad will strike a specific target. Timing is everything. We cannot allow the enemy to regroup or recover. Precision and speed will be our allies." Kale felt a mixture of excitement and fear. The humans were planning a counterattack, one that could change the fate of Zerath forever. He realized that this was more than a battle. It was a lesson in courage and strategy, a chance for his people to grow and survive. The next day, the humans began their strike. Kale watched from a safe distance as squads moved through the city and surrounding areas. Each human seemed unstoppable. They lifted massive debris, repelled enemy drones, and used advanced technology to disable weapons. Kale noticed how humans worked together seamlessly, covering each other and anticipating threats before they appeared. One human, a massive figure with glowing armor, charged directly into a group of enemy drones. Kale held his breath as sparks flew and explosions rocked the street. But the human emerged unscathed, drones destroyed or scattered. The human's strength was terrifying, but their control and focus made them true guardians, not mindless killers. Kale's people began to join the fight. Inspired by the humans, they set traps, repaired damaged equipment, and defended key positions. With humans guiding them, even the most fearful aliens acted with courage. Kale felt pride and hope swell in his chest. His people were learning to fight, to survive, and perhaps to thrive. The enemy fleet, realizing the humans were not ordinary soldiers, grew cautious. Their attacks became less organized as humans and aliens worked together to anticipate every move. Kale watched as humans adapted to every threat with creativity and speed. One squad used alien technology to create a temporary shield that protected civilians, while another squad disabled enemy drones before they could reach the city. Despite their success, Kale knew this was only the beginning. The enemy fleet's command ship remained hidden, and the larger fleet could strike at any time. But Kale also understood something important. Humans were not just fighters, they were symbols of hope. Their presence alone gave his people courage and strength. As night fell again, Kale and the humans regrouped. The city was damaged, but it still stood. The enemy had suffered heavy losses, and their morale was shaken. Kale approached Rena. "Your people, your monsters, they are incredible," he said. "I have never seen such power, such skill." Rena shook her head. "We are not here to impress, Kale. We are here to protect. You and your people have the courage, the will, and the intelligence to survive this. We just give you the tools and the guidance." Kale nodded. He realized that the humans' true strength was not just in their bodies or weapons. It was in their mind, their strategy, and their courage. They were terrifying, yes, but they were also inspiring. They had shown him what it meant to fight not for conquest, but for life. The night was quiet, but Kale knew the enemy would not rest. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new battles, and new tests of courage. But for now, his people had survived thanks to the humans, and in the quiet of the night, Kale allowed himself to hope. The humans had shown Zerath that monsters could be heroes, that fearsome strength could protect instead of destroy. And Kale knew that when the next wave came, his people would be ready, not alone, but alongside humanity's monsters. For the first time since the attack began, Kale believed that Zerath could survive. And perhaps with humans at their side, it could even fight back. Dawn broke over Zerath, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. The city, though battered, hummed with life. Civilians emerged cautiously from shelters, and alien soldiers patrolled the streets under Kale's guidance. Yet, the peace was fragile. The enemy fleet, though weakened, had retreated to a hidden base near the edge of the system. They were regrouping, preparing for a far greater attack. Kale walked through the city alongside Commander Rena and her human squad. They had mapped out a strategy overnight, a strike against the enemy command ship and its supporting fleet. This was not just a defensive mission, it was a chance to end the immediate threat once and for all. "You've done well," Rena said, her voice steady. "Your people have learned quickly, but today we'll test them in ways they have never imagined." Kale nodded. His mind was full of plans and contingencies. He had studied the enemy's movements and their technology. With humans guiding them, the aliens had a chance to turn the tide. But Kale knew it would require courage, precision, and trust in humans and in his own people. The humans deployed their elite squads first. These were the monsters that had saved Zerath before, soldiers enhanced with strength, speed, and intelligence beyond normal limits. Kale watched as they coordinated with alien teams, showing them how to approach the enemy strategically rather than through brute force. One human, massive and imposing, lifted a section of a fallen building to create cover for alien soldiers as they advanced. Another used a device to hack enemy surveillance drones, turning them against their own fleet. The aliens were learning quickly, inspired by the humans' courage and ingenuity. Kale led a small group through winding canyons near the outskirts of the city. From this vantage point, they could see the enemy command ship, a massive fortress of metal and weaponry floating in space above a hidden platform. Its guns swept the horizon, ready to strike anyone who approached. The humans did not hesitate. They moved like shadows, silent and precise, preparing for the strike. "This ship is the key," Rena explained. Destroy it and we cripple their fleet, but it will not be easy. The enemy expects an attack. That is why we must act with speed and coordination. Kale felt a chill of anticipation. He had seen humans fight before, but this was different. This was not protection alone. This was war planning on a galactic scale. He realized that humans were not just monsters. They were tacticians, leaders, and warriors rolled into one. The first phase began. Human squads infiltrated the enemy's outer defenses. Using stealth technology and alien knowledge, they bypassed patrols and disabled key systems. Kale's people followed, learning from every move. One alien soldier whispered in awe, "They are not just strong, they think like predators." Explosions erupted as humans struck at enemy weapons and supply lines. Kale watched as one human hurled an enormous drone into a control tower, crushing it with terrifying precision. Another human leapt from a hovering platform, landing on an enemy ship and using a device to disable its engines. Kale's eyes widened. These humans were unstoppable, but they never harmed civilians, never destroyed more than necessary. The aliens began to understand the humans' method. They were monsters trained to fight, yet disciplined enough to protect life. Kale realized that this balance of power and restraint was what made humans legendary across the galaxy. As the battle intensified, Kale received a warning from one of his scouts. "Commander Rena, more ships are approaching from beyond the rim. It looks like a coordinated attack. They may have allies we did not know about." Rena's expression hardened. "We expected as much. This is why we move quickly. If we strike now, we can dismantle their command structure before reinforcements arrive." The humans divided into squads, each targeting a critical point of the enemy command ship. One squad disabled the main energy generators, another infiltrated the communications array, and a third prepared for a direct strike on the ship's weapon systems. Kale observed, amazed at how seamlessly they coordinated, even with alien soldiers alongside them. The enemy realized they were under attack and began to retaliate. Turrets fired energy beams, and drones swarmed the city and surrounding terrain. But humans adapted instantly. One warrior lifted an enormous section of the ground using a gravity device, redirecting incoming fire. Another hacked into enemy systems, turning turrets against their own fleet. Kale felt a mix of fear and admiration. The aliens, inspired by the humans' actions, joined the fight with newfound confidence. They set traps for enemy drones, used alien tech to block pathways, and assisted in evacuating civilians. Kale led a team through a narrow canyon to flank the enemy, using strategies he had learned from the humans. As the attack reached its climax, humans approached the central command hub of the enemy ship. Kale watched as Rena and her squad moved with terrifying precision. Explosions shook the platform as humans disabled security systems and neutralized guards. Kale's people followed, providing backup and using their knowledge of the terrain to avoid traps. Inside the command hub, humans worked quickly to disable the ship's main reactor. Kale observed their skill and coordination. One human placed an energy device on the reactor core, while another covered the entrance, fending off enemy soldiers. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the hub shook violently. But the humans remained calm, focused, and unstoppable. Kale realized the full scale of the humans' power. They were not just strong, they were intelligent, adaptable, and fearless. They could face impossible odds and still find a way to succeed. And yet they fought not for glory or conquest, but to protect life. The enemy command ship began to overload. Lights flashed, alarms screamed, and energy surged uncontrollably. Kale felt the ground shake beneath him as the reactor destabilized. The humans had done it. They had neutralized the most dangerous threat in the system. But the battle was not over. The enemy had hidden reserves and more ships were approaching from the outer rim. Kale knew they could not hold the city for long without further action. Rena contacted him through the communicator. "Kale, your people have done well. But now we need to finish this. The enemy's fleet must be destroyed before they regroup. Follow my lead and stay close." Kale gathered his team, ready to move alongside the humans for the final strike. They advanced through the city, coordinating attacks and using the environment to their advantage. The aliens had learned quickly, and now they fought as one with the humans. The enemy ships tried to flee, but the humans anticipated their moves. One squad disabled engines, another hacked into control systems, and a third used gravity devices to trap ships in place. Kale watched as humans and aliens worked together, turning the battlefield into a coordinated force of destruction. Finally, the enemy command ship erupted in a massive explosion. Flames and debris scattered across space, signaling the end of the immediate threat. The remaining fleet, seeing their command destroyed, began to retreat. Kale felt a surge of relief and awe. Humanity had saved his planet. As the dust settled, Kale looked around at the humans. They were battered, scarred, and exhausted, but they stood tall. They had fought not for power, not for glory, but for life. Kale realized that this was what made humans legendary across the galaxy. Rena approached him, her expression serious but calm. Kale, this is not the end. The enemy may regroup elsewhere, but today your people have survived. Today we have shown them that life can fight back against tyranny. Kale nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. Your monsters, they are more than legends, they are heroes. Rena smiled slightly. We are humans, we answer the call when the helpless cry, that is all. Kale knew she spoke the truth. Humanity was not just strong, they were relentless, strategic, and fearless. They had taught his people to survive, to fight, and to hope. And though the enemy would return, Kale felt certain that with humans at their side, they could face anything. As night fell over Zerath, the city began to rebuild. Fires burned low, and civilians moved cautiously through the streets. Kale and his people worked alongside humans, restoring shelters, tending to the wounded, and salvaging supplies. The humans, though exhausted, continued to guide and protect, showing no sign of fear or hesitation. Kale looked up at the stars, thinking of the vast galaxy beyond. He knew that the enemy was part of a larger conspiracy, one that threatened not just Zerath but many other worlds. Yet he felt hope. Humanity's monsters had arrived once, and they would arrive again if needed. For the first time, Kale understood a truth that would change his people forever. When the stars hear a cry for help, humanity answers. And when humanity answers, monsters become heroes. The city of Zerath, though scarred and battered, had survived the day. Its people had learned courage, strategy, and hope from the humans. And Kale knew that this was only the beginning of a new alliance, one that would challenge the galaxy and show the true power of humans. As the night deepened, Kale spoke quietly to his fellow soldiers. Remember this day. Remember the monsters who fought for us. One day we will need to stand together again, and when we do, we will not be afraid. The humans rested nearby, their armor dented and scorched, but their eyes bright with determination. Kale felt a profound sense of awe. These beings were monsters in strength, yes, but they carried courage, honor, and hope wherever they went. And somewhere deep in the stars, Kale knew that more cries would echo, more worlds would be threatened, and more battles would be fought. Humanity would answer them all. For Zerath and for the galaxy, humanity's monsters had come, and they had changed everything.